Hello, everyone. I'm Hazy, head of product at Parade for Capacity. Thanks for joining us today. We're thrilled to dive into our collaboration with Tai and unveil CoDriver, a cutting edge AI tool designed to supercharge your operations. The setup is a breeze. CoDriver can be set up and running in just a few days, streamlining how you can handle carrier inquiries and helping you lock down capacity you need without the usual hassle. Today, we'll show you how AI can not only support, but significantly enhance your brokerage operations and how seamlessly CoDriver fits with your TMS system. In today's webinar, we're also joined by a solid lineup of speakers, including Lindsay Watt, VP of Product at Parade, Paul Howard, Director of Partnerships and Product at Tai, and Matt Newcomb, Director of Operations at ARL Network. But before we speak to ARL and Tai, let's take a look at why we built CoDriver and the benefits you can expect by easily deploying CoDriver at your brokerage. Let's address the elephant in the room, the overwhelming flood of emails. Every day, your team is bombarded with more carrier emails than you can manage. This isn't just about volume. It's about the capacity to respond effectively, ensuring that no opportunity is missed due to sheer overload. And what happens when we try to manage this deluge? We find ourselves stuck in manual mode. Too much of your team's time is consumed in looking up load details and verifying carrier information. This manual processing is not only inefficient, but also a significant drain on your resources that could be better spent elsewhere.
Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Cool. So, Matt, we've deployed CoDriver with your team for a few months now. Tell us about the ease of adoption and what impact you've seen with CoDriver. What does it feel like on the floor?
Well, one of the great things about CoDriver is it doesn't disrupt your current workflow, which is kind of the biggest selling point I had to my internal employees. So it's like, hey, you're not going to have to adjust much off of this, which I think is probably one of the most important things with implementation, especially with the amount of new tech vendors out there. SOPs and workflows can have a lot of adjustments throughout the year. So me introducing a new kind of application that'll fit right in with what they're doing. They don't have to sidetrack or go to a different portal or adjust what they're doing. Super, easy and accessible by everyone. Having it read into the TMS is an awesome feature, whereas a lot of other applications, you're going to have them stop what they're doing, go on this other site, do this or that.
And one question for you here to kind of follow up on that, what does that quite feel like on the floor? How are your team members, taking up this new technology?
Yeah, some of the biggest compliments are the fact that I don't see much of it anymore. Now, I certainly get some of the data and some of the analytics about the platform and how well it's performing. But for us particularly, we work in a cradle to grave model. So we have these very sustainable and individualistic pods that are always kind of self-running. And a lot of that chatter is just within its own little pod, which is awesome. I've had some other applications I try to roll out and people are at my desk basically all day. And this was quite the opposite. They kind of knew how to react to the platform without much training at all, just really kind of a couple tips and pointers here and there. And a lot of the escalations are getting kind of forwarded to them. And so they're kind of knowing how to handle it and answer the questions that can't be answered, some of the more niche operational questions.
How do you think about staffing related to what AI is contributing?
Yeah, well, our brokerage, along with a lot of other brokerages, deal with very crazy fluctuations when it comes to load volume and tender volume. We get a large portion of our freight, consolidated down to just a couple quarters or a couple months of the year. So, we were getting into these rotations, these yearly rotations of kind of mass onboarding and then offboarding phases of our staffing. And it is a pain to do that. I'm sure every broker will tell you that in the world. It's a lot of training. It's a a lot of resources they have to allocate to onboarding new people. And it's just, a cycle that isn't particularly great for the morale of your company, where you're kind of offboarding and onboarding and offboarding and onboarding. Hopefully, kind of with the new adjustments and new technology in place, we can have a sustainable model where it's the same people in every day and the same people staying at their position every day, and really having the people we do have here focused on, more meaningful and impactful work rather than the more tedious and, kind of volume fluctuations that we were dealing with.
I got a chance to look at some of ARL's metrics, and I think what we noticed was we did see a pretty big spike in quote volume to 2x, before CoDriver and afterwards. I'd love to hear from you what this means for you and your teams.
It means we don't have to take the first offer, which is, an executive's, dream sometimes. And really what you get is the analytics of what that pulse is to the open market. So if old school mentality is like I post out a load, I'm kind of trying to capture the pulse from phone calls. I could get 1,000 phone calls or I can get 100 phone calls. It's really hard to calculate. And so you're making a lot of guesstimations on just basically what your senses are picking up around you. Now I can clearly see, CoDriver touched this amount of carriers. It's gathered this amount of quotes from those interactions. And so I can immediately tell, like, hey, we need more of this freight. We need less of this, or hey, we need to be more strategic with this market, with this account. We're gonna have to pour more resources. And some of this easier freight that maybe had high volume but were very easy to book, very easy to operate on. A lot of times you're just looking at raw numbers when it comes to staffing. With this, it adds a different element of saying large portion of this account could be automated. This kind of more difficult, more niche operation over here, it needs more attention. And so being able to identify that rather than just trying to gather things that you hear on the floor or try to pick up, you get a hard number on that. That's an awesome thing to do. It really changes how you strategize around these accounts, how you staff these accounts, what type of freight you want to bid on, what kind of lanes you want to really expand on, what kind of markets are you slim on that you're not picking up a bunch on. You have some hard numbers on that now, and that is, I think, data analytics in general is really what's going to set you apart from other brokers.
I know you guys use Tai. Can you maybe share a little bit more about how CoDriver works with your TMS? What is the benefit of being able to view all of your quotes directly on Tai TMS? And does that make it easy to get a sense of like the general market rate?
Well, really one of our criteria when picking up a new application or new technology is, does it work with our TMS system? I mean, that is where every conversation needs to be surrounding now. I think we're past, this industry got an influx of a bunch of new tech, but a lot of it didn't speak to one another and didn't interact well with one another. What we found is, your staff is sitting there swivel chairing between 20 different platforms, really doesn't do any help to anyone. And in terms of staffing, they typically disengage from that process pretty quickly. They find the 2 or 3 vendors they like, they'll go on that portal, and you're wasting a whole lot of money with everything else that's just kind of lying around. And that could be different for every individual and which ones they gravitate towards. What you want your staff in is their TMS system. You want, your TMS system and your email providing most of your daily activities and interactions. That's awesome. For training purposes, it means you already know Tai. You've already gone through that thing. I don't have to teach you CoDriver. I really don't have to teach anyone CoDriver. They know how to work through Tai already. And so now having all the quotes and all the interactions and bidding and book it now is happening within the TMS system is a huge selling point. Like I said, getting people engaged with tech is hard already. Having it fit right there and they don't have to move to a different browser or a different tab. I mean, it's such a good selling point for our staff internally. It interacts well with Tai. It is able to identify carriers that are in and out of network well. It's able to record and have those pricing quotes added into the system very quickly and very accurately. So it's they play well with one another, and I think that marriage is important because I think everyone has to be able to consolidate their features and their services into the TMS system.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. And I think you nailed it like right on the head, right? Like we definitely hear the struggle of like there's so many tools out there in the industry and no one's really checking like are these tools talking to each other? Should they be talking to each other? Why or why not? And I think as you bring in new people into ARL and you're onboarding them with the kind of core systems you have in place, whenever you add something new, you want to make sure it fits in really nicely there. They don't have to relearn all these different tools. And it seems like with CoDriver, because it's so well embedded with Tai, you're able to see everything that you would typically see. And if you're not, your email, right? You're checking those things out in your email. That's really, really cool. Now, we see instant responses on average of 30 seconds on these carrier emails that CoDriver responds to. What does that instant response to carriers, mean to you in terms of driving a great carrier experience with ARL?
Absolutely. I mean, that is, a core responsibility of your operations team is to reply quick responses to these carriers. We're in an active bidding war every day with thousands of other brokers for this one truck, for this one capacity option, and we have to be quick with our responses. These guys are getting flooded with offers. There are options everywhere, and you want to be able to give them the knowledge that they need to whether or not accept or deny the load quickly. I think every broker in the world has a story about, hey, I'm going to go check if this load's ready or not, or if it's booked or not. And you come back to that carrier and his truck's booked. I think that is such a common everyday experience. And being able to respond to them in 30 seconds. A lot of these drivers are booking their trucks and their equipment while they're on the road. They're stopped at a
Yeah.
truck stop. They'll pop into their phone real quick, maybe reach out to broker A, broker B, broker C. And if you're waiting 30 minutes, an hour to respond, if you're waiting, pretty long, either A, he's have already gotten a response for those other brokers and booked his truck, or B, he's back on the road and he's not going to check his phone for another 4 or 5 hours. So being able to hit them when they're actively searching for a load and responding quickly is a great thing.
It's really awesome. And I think I've never met people as competitive as brokers. So I do think every
Yes.
second does really matter. It's awesome that we can kind of help you guys, get even more fiercely competitive out there for the fight to the truck. Um, I'm kind of curious, what kind of conversations are best for CoDriver to handle, and how accurate are the conversations versus a rep?
So it can handle most of your brokerage operational questions. There's some niche things that guys will have particular questions about the cargo. Those are details that typically are very specific to certain types of commodities. And so some of those questions, some of the more detailed questions, you're still going to have it escalated to a person. But 95% of your conversations and communications to a carrier, in terms of loading queries, not everything, but in terms of booking and dispatching out a truck, can be handled by the bot. Pickup appointments, availability, equipment types, pricing, all that can be done by the bot. So you're handling the really kind of small percentage of those kind of conversations that you actually have to handle.
Cool. That's awesome to hear. And I guess kind of continuing in that vein, how are you thinking about the impact in scaling volumes with your team?
Well, it really means that we can get focused on just procurement and building out our network, rather than doing more of these mundane question and answers, about, your simple freight. It means that we can, take up harder fights with tougher customers. So, there's certain customers that the effort that you have to put in to kind of book their freight and really make that account sustainable. It's opening more options there. Since I'm not dealing with our more contractual everyday freight, I can kind of pour more of my people into procuring a whole new market. Maybe I don't have carriers in Nebraska and I really need to develop that market. I can push more of the staffing towards that and get away from, hey, this typical Chicago to LA load that we do 5 times a day every day. That can just be handled by the bot, which will make some of your carrier sales rep a little sad because that was most of their miss. But it really helps you identify, like, these are your real players. You know what I mean? There's just a huge portion of your freight that is essentially auto book. You post it, you put it out to the DFMs, it's going to get booked, whether it be from a 1 year broker or a 10-year broker. That thing's going to be booked. It's just the popular lane, maybe it's the rate or whatever. Where you can really differentiate yourself as a broker is those tougher loads and those lanes that are pretty tough. That's where I can start pushing my staff towards and really kind of, like I said, develop those harder customers and those more niche customers.
That's awesome. I love that you guys are already thinking ahead about how to kind of deal with the digitization and like I think the wave of AI opportunities, right? Because I think what you were kind of, if I'm hearing you out correctly, what you're saying is a lot of this like easy freight, a lot of these easy questions, a lot of these inquiries that are very repetitive, kind of mundane, with a lot of easy to cover freight that can now just kind of be handed to the bot, the CoDriver. And I think what that allows your team to really do is to be strategic in every sense of the word, meaning you're going after new opportunities. You're trying to develop specific customer relations, where you have the potential to grow them. You have the ability to kind of have the team become highly specialized and cover freight that's a bit more difficult to cover. And it really does redefine the role of the carrier sales rep and how it's becoming elevated to some degree. That's really, really awesome. And I know, Matt, we are coming up close to on time, but we've been working for a while together, connecting you to various partner networks and driving emails with your carriers. Some digitization happening with digital bids, but notice a lot of it is coming over email. Can you tell us a bit more of your approach here? Are you trying to meet carriers where they at? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a developing time in this industry. We're
Yeah.
slowly moving through everything is from phone calls, and I was fortunate enough to be in this industry a long enough time where, actual load boards at truck stops were a thing, and that's how you you booked freight
Yep.
back in the day. Now guys are, dispatching out trucks and booking their trucks at the dock. They're on their smartphones and cell phones and picking up new freight, reaching out to new brokers, setting up new partnerships on the fly. So having the ability to have quick responses, having the ability to have a wide reach, the ability to kind of, like you said, get strategic on where and how you move your staffing. That's going to be important because carriers are moving more and more into their smartphones and into the digital world themselves. It's taken a little bit. They're older fellas, but they're getting there. And it is night and day to where I started. Whereas like you could find a guy that could track via cell phone. Now guys are running their whole businesses off their cell phone from their emails. And so it's really evolved very quickly. And, the next 5 to 10 years, that's only going to get, exacerbated and really develop into, where the rest of the world is today, where, we live and die from our email and our cell phone.
Cool. No, that's awesome to hear, and I love to hear it that way. I think like we definitely see the digital transformation happening, and I think we're all very excited. And I think like what you mentioned is totally something that we see, right? Where there's definitely a bit of a lag to adoption of technology, but I
Mhm.
think for customers like yourself, like ARL, I think I love that you guys are thinking like digital first and thinking about as trends and evolution in technology continue to evolve. Um, there's going to be a need, an ever-growing need to make sure that you have a strong digital strategy so you can make sure you get to the carriers wherever they're going to be. And that's going to be a more kind of digital forward strategy there. Awesome. Cool. Well, Matt, thank you for making the time to chat with us, and I'll catch you around.
It's awesome
Cool.
seeing you again, Hazy. Have a great
Okay.
one.
All right.
Thanks, Matt. Now I'll hand it off to Lindsay Watt, who will be speaking with Paul Howard from Tai. Take it away, Lindsay.
Hey, everyone. All right, thanks, Hazy. Now we're talking to Paul Howard from Tai. Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. I'm Paul Howard. I'm director of partnerships at Tai, and I come here freshly from FreightWaves and bounced around the industry a little bit. Based out of Boise, Idaho, and actually I was a freight broker for C.H. Robinson for 7 years. And so love the freight industry, love this space, and love working with all the different companies in this area.
Awesome. Well, we're going to come back to your CH Robin experience here because I think it's really timely to the conversation we're having. For folks watching, I'm Lindsay Watt. I'm the VP of product at Parade. Been here for about 3.5 years in the freight industry on all sides for almost 10. And let's talk about AI. So, Paul, the first question I have for you, you're an ex-CH guy. Recently, CH announced that they have built their own AI-based email reading solution. Do you think this is kind of like the iPhone moment for AI at the freight brokerage, where AI goes from being something that people are like, oh yeah, I kind of know what this, to like, whoosh, it's going to be everywhere? What are your thoughts there?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, obviously, yes. Everybody's going to be finding different ways to leverage AI. Just at TIA the last month, everybody was talking about how AI can play into this, and CH does a great job. They've got all this innovation labs and all this work that's being done on their side. Special place in my heart. I was there for 7 years, love that company, but it's not unique. I mean, like you said, it's the iPhone moment where everybody is going to be leveraging similar technologies. It's great for what C.H. Robinson is doing in-house, but what they have built is not solely unique and only available to C.H. Robinson. And that's what we get to talk about with this partnership between Parade and Tai, where we're leveraging AI to do the same things for the broader market at a very high scale, and it's a really exciting opportunity.
Nice. Now, walk me through a little bit how Tai is approaching this, because I think one of the things you're doing is you're building a suite of partners to help bring AI to your customers. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how you folks are pushing the limits of what's possible for your customers?
Yeah, so Tai is a broker-focused TMS. We're mostly looking at truckload and LTL freight. Some of these companies are managing drayage and some of these other pieces as well. But we really want to create a next-gen TMS where companies can leverage an intuitive workflow to move faster. So that at the high level then brings in the opportunity for all these different partner companies like Parade, or companies that are playing in some of these different spaces to speed up the processes that a broker would do in their day-to-day life. So finding the right tools that aren't just kind of grabbing GPT models or what have you and then plugging them in ad hoc that don't make sense, but really being meaningful and thoughtful about how we're putting these things together so we can enhance their experience. So Tai's building that infrastructure out so that a tool like Parade's CoDriver can be plugged into our email automation or email workflow tool to seamlessly help the broker move faster.
Nice. And you're talking a lot about moving faster. And so, one of the things I think speed matters in business, particularly the freight brokerage industry. What's preventing folks from moving faster? How can they use something like Tai and Parade to do something this year to help their brokerage?
The change is scary, right? And everybody, from my perspective, every broker has their own secret sauce, their own way of doing things, their own special touch, and that's important. We're never going to remove the human element completely from this space, and that's what makes the brokerage world so special. But to that point of finding ways to move faster, we have to find those little bits of efficiency gain that don't rob you from being who you are, but then move that ball to multiply yourself, to enhance your customer experience, your carrier experience. And CoDriver does just that, where we're not like completely taking humans out of the equation entirely, right? We're speeding up that conversation. We're making it so that people don't feel like they're ignored or anything like that. And so by leveraging that, and by the way, I need CoDriver in my own inbox. But by doing that, we're able to help these companies do this better, and then they can do this other thing better. And this doesn't mean that they're going to go from the 10 times multiplier in a year, but they can certainly do a lot more with what they already have.
I think one of the nice things too is the way you've laid it out is, look, if we go back to the iPhone moment, for the risk of torturing analogies here, tie with your partner ecosystem. It's kind of like, hey, there's an app for that, right? Like we can help you as you're ready to go do the next thing. By virtue of your investment in Tai, you've got access to this portfolio of great products. They're going to help you, your brokerage, do more.
One of the things that I love about Tai that is unique is that Tai actually helps put in the full view of information from the partnering companies, whereas some TMSs, you might just get data points. You can give us something, but it needs to live in this one specific field. Tai really makes it more dynamic and again, meaningful for broker users to actually use the products that they're paying for at the scale that they need to, right? And so that is one of the exciting things about Tai. But to that point, to your question, I mean, this creates the opportunity for all sorts of cool AI tech. We're at the tip of the iceberg, right? And so getting the ball rolling gives us the opportunity to get brokers comfortable with the idea of leveraging more machine learning, more AI to do bigger and better things.
Awesome. So this year, every freight broker on Tai is going to do bigger, better things. They've already made the investment in Tai. Now you're going to bring Tai in through CoDriver, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Companies are able to leverage our tools to move fast together. So we have email workflows directly in our system, and brokers are able to manage their business and their communications right from the system, and it all feeds into the loads on their company load board, right? So managing all of that in-house, that's great, right? And then Parade is able to then bring the conversation with the carrier from the, hey, is this load available? Can you give me the load details? And pass through all those pieces very quickly so that you can speed up those conversations and reduce that manual touch and help brokers be more effective in real time today. So that's leveraging AI, that's leveraging very cool tech, and then all the other sweet things that Parade is able to do. And then living out of an intuitive next-gen TMS that does a lot more than the out-of-the-box ones that the entry-level companies can do, or the older TMSs that are kind of rigid and difficult to play with, or not as easy to evolve and grow. And so that's really where brokers are able to move forward faster today.
Awesome. Let's wrap it there. Everyone, appreciate your time today and look forward to you doing great things with your brokerage in 2024.
Have a good one, everyone.